Okay, here we go. Well, hello everybody. Thank you for joining us. I see several folks have jumped in here now, and we are running around here today. Obviously, it's not busy the week before an election or anything like that. So we are getting our ducks in a row, and glad you could join us today. Thank you for joining us at a special time. And we're going to jump into part two. I know last week we covered some electoral items, but we'll go ahead. We've got a few more things, some tips and tricks, just some basic conversation as the two of us here in Missouri prepare to go to vote. Everyone does. So look forward to having that conversation with you. First of all, like, share, and subscribe, please. If you're on YouTube, hit the subscribe button, the little notification bell next to it so you're notified when new videos come out, like this live stream every Thursday. And then likewise, you're on Facebook, Twitter, wherever you are. Hit that share button, send it to a friend, let them know they should jump in on these conversations too, because there's a lot of thoughtful stuff, whether it's values-based and kind of philosophy about things, or if it's just really practical advice. These conversations we had, these are conversations that we all need to be having as conservatives. So share it with a friend and make that the action item to start off with. But let's dive into it. What's happening on Tuesday, Joanna? Nothing big, right?
Yeah, nothing big.
No.
We're just going to come into work. I think I have an oil change, all those kinds of fun things.
That's right. That's right. Just a normal Tuesday.
Our midterm elections are happening on Tuesday, November 8th, 2022. So we actually have a couple action items for you. Last week, make sure you watch the video from last week. We talked about some ways that you can get involved in the November election. There's still probably time for you to get involved in some states probably not at all. But we definitely talked about how you need to go and vote on Tuesday. Make plans to go and vote. If you can't vote on November 8th, there is a way to vote absentee in your state. So check that out, see how you can get that done. But definitely take time and vote this November.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you talk about getting involved. I know there are a lot of counties, like we said, we shared last week, some of our colleagues over in Illinois, their county clerk was desperate for Republican judges. I'm sure that there are still places that are looking to do that. I know there are trainings and different things, but if there is a need, they will make sure if there's a willing person, we figure it out. But likewise, another one we mentioned last week to get involved with was candidates. There's still going to be candidates just trolling all over the neighborhoods, doing literature drops, meeting people door to door. There's still events. Go and find if there's someone that you particularly like and are voting for. Find out a way to help them this weekend if you're not able to volunteer on Tuesday as an election judge. That is still there. And this is probably one of the prime 2 or 3 weekends for it, is right before, because a lot of folks who don't pay attention, don't have these conversations like you all have with us every Thursday, they're just now starting to pay attention, and they're going to be just rapidly Googling everything in the background to try to figure out what in the world is going on, who's running what they think. So get out there and do some helping and do some literature runs or whatever it is, because people are really going to start paying attention in droves this weekend. It's kind of sad that that's the extent of the anticipation that people have leading up to election. It's like a national holiday in my house. We get excited about it. The kids love it. We're going to go vote. We're going to go vote. I'm like, yes, we are going to go vote. Now we all get stickers because this is a big deal. We make this a big deal in our house, but a lot of people, it's just kind of an afterthought. So go help that not be.
Before we get into what we're going to talk about this week, I actually appreciate how Ryan and his family handles voting. And they go and they take their family, and they actually do make an event of it. So I really appreciate that, because it does teach the importance of that day.
And of course, like good millennials, if you don't put on your I voted sticker and take a selfie, you didn't actually vote. Like, it doesn't count. So
that's what we talked about last week, was how you can get involved to make sure you go out and vote. But again, we're going to talk about go and vote Tuesday. But what do you do after you vote and you want to see the news and to see the results of the election? Where do you go? Well, we have a couple sources for you. Definitely check out the Andrea Kaye Show. Andrea Kaye and Ed Martin, and you may be familiar with Ed Martin's name. He is the president of our organization here at the Philadelphia Eagles. They will be hosting a live show on Tuesday night to talk about the results as they come in. So definitely, if you want to have a good news source that's reliable, check out them. That'll be the Andrea Kaye Show, and Ryan just shared a link.
And of course, they're going to be talking. I mean, they're based. Andrea's based in San Diego, and Ed is out in Virginia. But they're going to be talking. This is a national election. There are seats all over. We're talking about the maps, what it's going to look like, the House and Senate. There's going to be a lot of relevant information, even if you're tuning in to something halfway across the country or more. There are going to be people, as long as you have a trustworthy source, they're going to be talking and analyzing from a really interesting perspective. Go and tune in. Another one that we've got to send here, which if you're looking for especially live stream coverage over election night, and remind you, no one's perfect, obviously, but there are a lot of good sources out there. You don't have to be stuck watching MSNBC and CNN, which I think it's going to be unfun for watching them this year. There's just going to be tears and weeping and things, is at least what it seems like in polling trends. But Newsmax. Newsmax.com is another one. I've found their election night coverage to be really interesting. It's kind of the standard cable news thing. You're going to hear analysts of different varieties saying the same things over and over again as we all wait for election results. It's the 24/7 news cycle is kind of annoying that way, but at least there you'll have, you know, some good guests come on that are going to be a lot less bent toward one side or the other. Honestly, even though everyone is conservative, we're looking at the information and not just spewing and saying information that we wish were so, which is pretty much often the case with most of the mainstream sources. So head over to Newsmax. That's one of my favorites that I fire up. And they have a good electoral map too on their website that shows if you're tracking several Senate or House seats, the AP is decent because of course the Associated Press calls races, but the New York Times, the Washington Post, a lot of these folks who used to have neat little tools, even if I didn't want to read anything that they said, they've put them all behind paywalls now, which is really obnoxious. You can't even get to a basic election night map where I can see the races coming in multiple states at a time. Newsmax usually does that. So if that's the kind of thing you're into, head over there. It's a good resource.
Another one we would recommend is the Epic Times.
Yeah.
So definitely check them out too if you're not able to, if Newsmax isn't your favorite, or if you don't want to listen to the Andrea Kaye Show and Ed Martin, which that could get kind of awkward. I still think you should listen to them, but you could check out the Epic Times. I know some people who have multiple channels up or multiple news sources up that they listen to at the same time, or they go back and forth from. So that would be another one you should check out. Maybe you have to work, or you don't know how you could watch something the whole time and you want to listen, like get text messages. I mean, not text messages, but like tweets or telegrams or something like that. I would suggest Jack Posobiec. You could follow Jack Posobiec online. He would give out good information, I know, on Tuesday.
And I was going to say, there are going to be a lot of races, I think, that we're not going to know initially, which that's kind of terrifying. But then there's also places like Georgia. We may well have a runoff. And that's going to be happening, you know, here at the beginning of December. So if you're looking for the immediate aftermath, the day or two after, some analysis of what has happened, you're not really going to be watching that night, which is fair. Again, that's one thing. One of the podcasts I would highly recommend, Jack Posobiec's Human Events Daily. They do an excellent job, 25 minutes or less, just covering some of the top lines. They've gone to a conversational format instead of here's the 3 stories you need to know. It's really good. And if it's something that you're not just going to sit there and listen to hours and hours of coverage, Human Events Daily, the podcast, it's also a video. You can catch it there. Also, there are a lot of other places. One that I listened to, we've talked about before, Al Mohler, the pastor and seminary president, he does something called The Briefing, where it's all from a Christian perspective, but he talks about cultural and political stuff almost exclusively. So that's a good perspective. I know the next morning he'll be talking about the election. There are all kinds of those things that I would recommend you go and check out, because people are going to be talking about what's happened, what the trends are telling us, what these election results are telling us, if there's lack of election results, what that's telling us. It's going to be important. And also, lastly, the night of and in the coming days after, Joanna said the Epic Times, there's specifically go to Epic, EPOCH, Epoch, epochtv.com. Is it Epoch or Epic? We've never...
I've heard it both ways.
I think someone from Europe told me Epic, and I realized I never questioned that, but it may
Most
not
people
be.
Hear Epic Times,
Epic?
But if we're wrong, tell us.
Epoch just sounds cooler,
It does.
but we'll go with the Epoch for today, okay?
Okay.
Anyway, go to epochtv.com, but there you will find lots of good content. They've also got a lot of stuff up on YouTube. I know that American Thought Leaders is there. Oh, Josh Phillips' show, that's flying out of my head at the moment, but you're going to find a lot of really neat Crossroads. That's Josh's show. You're going to find a lot of really, really neat, in-depth stuff that's going to be put into short videos, but they're going to be talking beyond just the surfacey headlines, which is maybe more of what you'll get on Newsmax the night of. We're just talking about the headlines because there's not much to go into, but you know, the Epic Times is going to go into a situation. Jack Posobiec is going to talk about lots of connecting things behind it. People like the Al Mohlers of the world are going to be talking about the values behind it. There's a lot of layers to peel back. There's a lot of things we should understand. So definitely pursue some of these in the day and two after the elections if you want to understand kind of what's gone on, more than just who won, but what it means. These are the places we're going to be listening to and considering as we work through that ourselves and do some publishing and writing. So that's that's going to be a good place to go.
And if you have other conservative TV stations, newspapers, radio stations, Twitter accounts, whatever the case might be, if you have any other suggestions, send those in. You can send those in to info@phyllisschlafly.com. Again, info@phyllisschlafly.com. You can leave those in the comments below on YouTube, Facebook, all of those sites. You can leave those there. So then we can have those because we might want to refer to them too, or maybe those would be helpful for other people. But we just want to make it very clear that you can get good news from good news sources on Tuesday, because that's going to be important as well.
Yeah.
And we're really excited about Tuesday. If you listen to our president's radio show, he is very optimistic. So we're gonna see what happens on November 8th.
Yeah, it really looks like we were pouring over some of it, and here's some insider baseball that we talk about a lot. Polls. I mean, I think we've all kind of known since 2016. Polls are very inaccurate. The numbers are wrong, but trending in polling, you can in fact extrapolate something out of that, because you can see up lines, down lines. You can kind of get a sense of the direction. Maybe if the numbers are even untrustworthy, the trend lines are usually something you can look at, and the trend lines are showing some really incredible response to a lot of different issues, whether it's the economics that people are really hurting and they know who's in charge right now, so they kind of know who to point the finger at and blame, or if it's parents and upset people still about social issues, schools, the cultural stuff. That is really driving the drumbeat of people who are upset, and they know where to point it. It is predominantly going toward one party, even to the point where, and I know we had this, we had a guy who emailed in, and I need to get you an actual email back, even though you said we kind of already addressed it. There's stuff in Colorado. So-and-so's, endorsed this person. So-and-so said not to vote for that person. What do I do? There's a lot of people in, Pennsylvania. No, this isn't, I wish we maybe had a little bit more of a dynamic conservative than Dr. But you have this very interesting black and white choice, two different parties and the two different visions that they represent, the two different opportunities of something we talked about last night. Even if this is your favorite person, does this person represent an opportunity for my values to come through, or just not? And there's, there's some choices that we all have to make there, but I have completely lost my train of thought on where we were going. But with the polling, I'm sorry, I was looking for his message from last week, and I got off track. But there's going to be a lot of those decisions that people are making, and that's going to be really interesting to look at, because even if Republicans, and we've talked about this a lot, even if Republicans walk away with the Senate and the House, which it highly likely it looks like at this point is going to happen, we can't just have a red wave. It needs to be a conservative wave. We need to have a good conservative majority, or a good conservative bulk of that Republican majority that can then move the party in the right direction on constitutional and values-based issues. So that's really what we're looking toward. And especially if you're in a state with one of these races, please, do your due diligence. Feel free to reach out and ask questions like we had here in Colorado. I mean, we're not, we haven't endorsed a candidate, but we can certainly kind of help you work through by asking questions. What do I want to do? Like we had here, and there's a lot of stuff to consider. But then when we're done, when it's all said and done, especially in some of these states, if someone gets through, it's the Republican, but it's not necessarily my favorite Republican. Okay, now is the time to say, this is my elected representative. Whether or not you decided to vote for that person, I now need to take part in holding their feet to the fire. So issue by issue, vote by vote, when stuff comes up, you need to be emailing and calling and getting your friends to email and call, because you can pour a few thousand emails or phone calls into an office, even of a U.S. senator statewide with several district offices. It can make a huge impact. You really can get people to pause and maybe not vote for something, start to look and get into, supporting a thing that they weren't really paying attention to before. So like, I feel like I would be shirking my Phyllis Schlafly duty if I didn't remind everyone the election is on Tuesday, and then on Wednesday we get to start preparing for who is coming into office. And then that is a whole new realm of work. It doesn't stop. The work only begins to then hold these folks accountable. And if it's some Republicans we're kind of a little bit afraid of, get on them already. Hey, I'm glad you won. You're my senator now. Here's what I expect. This bill is going to face you when you get sworn in January. I need you to very much verbally and loudly oppose this. That is the time. The day after the election is the time to start diving into some of that. Of course, official emails are going to have to be set up and transition stuff, but we in our mind have to keep that on the table. The election is over, but the work is not. The work is only beginning. So
I'm really glad that you mentioned that. That's so true.
And that's a good reminder for even us. It's kind of like, Wednesday is here. The election's over. Although we may, again, be dealing with this for a few days in some states. But okay, no, now is the time. Even if you were excited about someone or not, if the guy on your side of the, half-seas equation got through, it's time to start making plans. What am I going to ask him to do? What am I going to ask him to not do, him or her? This is time. And even if it's someone that you don't like, just still, if you've never taken the opportunity to pepper your U.S. senator or congressperson that's on the other side of the aisle from your vote, take the time now to start saying, yeah, I'm a constituent of yours. You may not have voted for him, but I'm a constituent of yours. Here's what I'd like you to do. Always be polite, respectful, concise, things that we've talked about regularly, but maybe take that time now to build the relationship. It's there. If you're paying attention to the election, we need to pay attention to after the election.
That's good. I actually really like that. So again, remember, go vote Tuesday. If you can't, you can absentee vote in your state. So just check out how you can do that. It's different state by state. Right now, we do have absentee voting here in Missouri that's available for people all week long, except for on Sundays up until next Tuesday. And then after that, also, after you vote, keep an eye on the results. And there's a lot of options on where you can do that. And we've given those links and listed that in the comments below. So check those out. And then like Ryan said, and this is a bonus topic that we did not discuss ahead of time, which I'm totally fine with, is Wednesday, because we won't see you guys until next Thursday.
Yeah.
Wednesday, once you see who's elected in your state, in your county, wherever it might be, hold their feet to the fire. It's our chance to keep them accountable.
And maybe that's a good topic for next Thursday.
Yeah.
We should prepare some stuff because there's so many resources here about that Phyllis and all the Eagles wrote over the years about how to lobby. That's really, as a citizen, you can lobby from your phone or your computer. Make a call, send an email. That's the whole point. These people are supposed to hear from their constituents. Not many of them want to, I'm sure. Well, some of them don't want to, many, but they ought to. So maybe that could be our topic for next Thursday. I like that.
Well, with that, thanks for joining us this week. If you have any questions, comments, or anything like that, leave those on YouTube, Facebook, or wherever we're on social media, or email us at info@phyllisschlafly. But until then, we will see you all next Thursday for our weekly Unauthorized Caucus. And it'll be the same time and same place.
You almost forgot the name of our show, didn't you?
I did.
It was very close. That was close. That's okay.